work. Both of those things are clicked, but for some reason they're not. So my dogs tend to act like children during meetings. So you might hear some wrestling. We'll see. I'm hoping they won't. How's everybody?
Good.
Good. How are you?
Good.
Perfect. As a heads up, we are live.
All right. We are live, everyone. Laura, do you want me to, sorry, Jesse, do you want me to do the usual?
Sure. Are we waiting on Chris, or should I call the meeting to order?
I'd say we can go ahead. If we're live, we'll just go ahead and hopefully she'll join us. I know she's had some struggles with connectivity. So.
All right. Well, I will go ahead and call this meeting of the North Lowerdy Community Library Board of Trustees to order. And don't remember what we're starting with tonight.
Well, we're starting with the approval of minutes from August.
All right. I think those all got sent out. Did everyone get to look those over?
Yes.
Any issues or changes?
None. It was a really short meeting.
Yeah. It was. We were very efficient. Anyone want to make a motion to approve the minutes?
I make the motion that we approve the minutes from August.
I second that.
Yes.
Yay.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Thank you. Minutes are approved. And we have Kayla here tonight, our Youth and Teen Services Assistant Librarian.
Hi, Kayla.
Talk with us about, and who knows if I did the right title this time, we just discussed this, but anyway, she's here to talk with you about some of the stuff she's been working on and show you some slides. But the slides that you got are, we're gonna amend and update some with some new ones later on down the road, it sounds like.
Yes. So all the numbers on my slide that are connected to my Excel worksheet. If you don't have my Excel worksheet, as I don't right now, you can't see any of the numbers. So that's fun. You may go now, Jenny.
You should be able to share.
Cool. Oh. Let's see if I can. Okay, can you guys all see that?
Yes.
Yep.
Perfect. So what I've been working on for the last couple of months is doing a diversity audit of our entire teen collection. And so diversity audit really quickly is literally just going through and inventorizing your collection to determine the amount of diversity. And we do this to make sure that we have a variety of points of view, experiences, and representation. So our collection is very well-rounded. It's also very important to look at what Rudine Bishop calls the windows and mirror idea. So a mirror, for those of you that don't know, is if the mirror's in front of you, it's a reflection of your reader experience, while a window would be looking through the window into different points of view you're not familiar with. So the process that I did was in 3 parts. So I first took every single book in our collection and documented the diversity in it. And I did this from just the reader's point of view. If you walked into the library, the diversity that you would see, instead of going really deep in depth on what diversity is in the book as a whole, by looking at, I have a book right here. We're looking at the cover of the book, the inside summary, or the back summary if it's a paperback, as well as the information in our catalog. And I looked at the main character and the minor character for diversity in race and ethnicity, religion, LGBTQIA, physical health, mental health, and economic welfare. So after I went through about 2,600 books in our collection, I analyzed what our community's diversity looks like in reference to those subjects, just to see how we compared for what our community looks like. And then I went through all of those numbers and compared them, which is what this beautiful thing is. Really quickly, some fun numbers that I came across is there were 2,600 books audited. It took me about just over 200 hours and just shy of 15 weeks. And I found that the teen collection is 30% diverse. So it's a little lower than we were shooting for, but it was higher than I thought it was going to be. And this is where some of my numbers get a little weird because there should be numbers all over there. But so if a patron walks into the library, for an example, you can see that the covers that they look at are only going to be about 6% diverse compared to the 27% over here in subject heading. So that obviously looks more than 30%. You see the numbers on here. And that's simply because these numbers overlap, because books can have multiple levels of diversity in them. So that's the numbers breakdown right there. And there's a lot of numbers in the next few slides, and I'm not going to go really far into them, just because you have these slides so you can look at them. But here would be the section. And if you look over on this side, these are the books. So the main characters and minor characters in total for all the subjects. This is the breakdown for economic welfare. And then this number right here is the total number of books in the collection under that. And then on this side are what community looks like. Grabbed numbers, our community in North Liberty, teens in the United States, as well as the ICCSD information, so the Iowa Community School District.
Iowa City Community School District.
Yes. So then you can just go through different numbers that I personally really like, graphs and numbers. So then this is the queer population. You can see the different numbers here, and that 10% of teens in the US openly identify as LGBTQIA+. And then you can look into mental health. And I have some of these grouped together just because mental health, and in the next slide for physical health, there's so many different categories that the graph would just be very tall. So you can see that like eating disorders are grouped together, and so are personality disorders. And then physical health, you see all of that. And then you go into race and ethnicity. You see that the teen collection is very much centered on African American descent over here as compared to all the other numbers. And I put this into a graph just to pull numbers from the 2018 estimated census in North Liberty, as well as the federal census in 2015. Then this one is for the Iowa City School District, so that the numbers are a little different than the North Liberty ones. And I just added all that so you can compare. Religion was smallest across all the sections in teens, 54 total. It's defined numbers for religion for just teens. So these are just for Iowa adults and North Liberty adults. Right. And so then, oh shoot. So this just shows you what the breakdown looks like. So that's the so what. And as I've been talking, I've been showing you that I'm comparing it just to our community and as a whole, but we don't want to just show our community, even though I've been comparing them, because we want our community to see the entire world in our collection. Yes, the window. You don't want to just see me, or you want to see all the different people. And in case you guys are interested, these slides are wonky because I didn't get to look through them, so you can see what your slides will look like. It's all these percentages and words. But if you look at just the teen fiction collection, you can see that our diversity is up to like 45, as I'm pretty sure what our number is here, to our fantasy, which is at 18%. So it's very interesting, and I can take all these numbers now and talk with Andrew and order more books in the specific collections and in these specific areas. And so I'm very excited to continue working on this, and that's what my awesome presentation is about. You can see all the different ones as I go through, and here are all of my resources. And I'm currently very slowly working on juvenile as well, just to be able to see what our entire collection is, since I'm the youth and teen. But so at some point, maybe we'll see what the entire collection looks like as a whole, instead of just the pieces. Do you guys have any questions? I know I went through that really quickly.
I just want to say kudos. This is amazing. I found it very interesting. And is there any way to share it with others or to get it out at all? Just because it's such amazing work.
Yes, are you looking at just my PowerPoint? Do you want it condensed, or are you looking at my?
I just didn't know. I think you've put in so much work, and I find it really interesting to kind of, I guess, help people relate to the library and that kind of thing. I just didn't know if there were any other avenues, if anybody can think of.
I mean, I think we could do a condensed version of, something, a few slides or some visuals on our Facebook, our social media in general. Facebook's the most interactive probably for us, but and things like that, and just kind of talk about what we did or how what Kayla did. And I mean, honestly, this is something that we likely never would have, well, not likely, it would have taken many, many months had we not been closed, where she had the opportunity to work on it, both at the library and when she was working from home. I think she also was working on it pretty regularly. So she was diligent in her efforts to get it done so quickly, actually. It'll be interesting to compare, see what the juvenile brings about in addition. So I think once we get more of a glimpse of the whole youth picture, that'll be better too. I would add too that we had a patron reach out to us at the beginning, probably in April, May-ish, I think April. It's all kind of a blur, and ask about our collection diversity in our picture books. She offered to do a fundraiser for us for our picture books to get more books on race, equity, and social justice. And she put, we just kind of did a ballpark number and said $750 would be a great kind of range to cover quite a few books. And she ended up raising over $1,300 in just a few days. It was pretty phenomenal. So we're working through that right now to see what she had some suggestions as a teacher that she would like to see, and we'll be buying those and then adding more to the collection as well. So that's pretty exciting.
So out of this work, what is the goal of acquisitions? What level are you thinking the library should get to? 50%, or what is the goal for the diversity in the collection?
That is a really good question. So I'm not sure if that's a Jenny question or a me question, but from my research, I'm not looking for a certain number. We're looking at continuously building and evolving our collection. So it reflects our community. So it's not trying to hit a number goal, it's more building it gradually. So that it's like every book order that we order, we make sure that we have the areas that we need. That makes sense.
And will there be ongoing data collection as you go through? Like as there's new acquisitions, will it be built into your database so that you can track things in the future without having to start over again and duplicate work in the future that you've already done?
So kind of. So I know that I have completed all the books currently in our collection up until January of 2020. No, May of 2020. So any books purchased after that fact aren't included in my collection. So then if next year or whenever, I only would have to do those books. And so then you can look that up in our system. It'd be interesting to do it monthly though.
Yeah, I mean, I would just, to add to that, I would just say that, you know, obviously library is one of our things that we strive for, is to have a collection, a diverse collection that meets the needs for all of our community. As Kayla said, with the mirrors and windows, represents our community, but also allows people to explore and find information outside of our community for what we have here. And as our community continues to be more diverse, which is happening, we want to continue that, to build on that as well. I think Andrew does a pretty, I mean, obviously, well, Andrew and the whole staff, that the people who focus on those different areas. So Andrew does the main part of the book collection ordering, but he's got a lot of help from whisperings from Kayla and Aaron and Emily and Amy and the rest of us. I mean, I will, you know, just periodically see something in email and say, hey, I didn't see this in our collection. It might be great to have. I think a lot of our staff do that. And we all have sort of different eyes on different areas. So that's kind of nice too. We have actually a pretty diverse staff of readers. We all read kind of different types of books. So that's helpful too. And we all sort of know that. So when people are asking for specific materials, I can usually be like, ooh, I think, you know, I could help you, but I think Andrew would be a really great resource for this because he likes anime and he likes science fiction. And so, and I'm not a big reader of those areas. So that's helpful too, for us to know that our staff is also reading from different areas.
Do you have a mechanism that you've thought about in place for when the book collection is reviewed to remove materials that are either not high circulation or damaged too bad and not removed, even if something doesn't have high circulation, but it offers diversity in the collection?
Yeah, we would still probably, I mean, Andrew, we have some pretty strict guidelines for weeding mainly, or discarding books mainly because of space. So, you know, when we've done, I remember when I did more of that type of thing and I'd be like, oh, I love this book. I'd slip it back onto the pile that wasn't gonna go out the door. We've gotten a little more strict on that now. They go through a pretty strict process of, you know, looking at dates and what type of material it is. And then Andrew also has done some work with our consultant that we were working with, Roy Carnegie, and mostly right now that's on the adult area, but he'll be able to apply what he's doing there into other areas of the collection, using some reports and things to run them through the rigors of making sure that we're staying up on different topics. If we weed something, do we have something that's gonna be like in the collection?
I did have a question for Kayla. How many books in a year do you usually order for, you know, the teen and youth section? Because is that a pretty lengthy project then for you, just once a year, having to input all that, you know, data? Is that something that maybe any high school volunteers or other volunteers might be willing to help you out with once a month? Or
So I don't do any of the ordering. Andrew does all of that. So I'm not sure of exact numbers. All I know is visually as they're on our new bookshelf.
Mhm.
I was gonna try to put up and tell you like how many we ordered this last year or how many books we added to the collection, but I logged out of my network, so I'm trying to log back in. So if you want me, I can tell you that, but it's gonna be a second here.
I was
Oh,
just curious because
Mhm.
you've put in a lot of work into this, and I agree. I think that this is something that if you can just keep adding on to it, then this is data you can always fall back on. And then maybe doing like a short 1-minute presentation that gets posted on the North Liberty Facebook page just to show the diversity of our book selection. You know, and I don't know if, I know that during the story time that they pick, you know, different books too. So that's nice.
Mhm. Yes. Our initial plan when we were talking about this with Molly from the Cedar Rapids Public Library was to have volunteers do it. But when we closed, I'm like, well, I have a lot of free time to do projects, so why not?
Right.
But it would be a really great thing for one of our youth volunteers to work on, like in the hour that they're here weekly. It's a great idea.
So the last, I don't have the FY20, we just completed that report, so I don't have that downloaded yet, but the last 2 years, 19 and 18, we purchased about, I would say, well, between the 2 years, about 4,000 books a year.
Wow.
And that's for the whole, or pieces of material, that's for the whole collection. I would say 2,600 makes up a pretty tiny percent of that collection. That's probably about 2% or less without doing the math. So it's going to be a reasonable number that she could tackle that pretty reasonably on a yearly basis rather than an
Gotcha.
ongoing basis. The majority of our books that we bring in, the majority of our collection is in the picture books and the adult sections, because the adult section covers such a vast area of books.
Jenny, are there any opportunities in the Polaris catalog for user-defined fields or established fields in order to encapsulate some of this data that Kayla's been able to harvest?
That would definitely be an Andrew question. I know he works really hard on the subjects to make sure that they cover areas that he thinks people would intuitively look for. I'm not sure at this point there would be something in there, but regarding, specifically to cover.
Right, I would imagine it would have to be a user-defined field and some sort of customization that you'd have to do on your own for a.
Yeah, if we were going to do like just something where they said diverse books or something, but that's
Right.
Again such a I don't know, something, it's depends on the person what they're looking for in a diverse book, like as you saw from the list that Kayla had of just the
Right.
physical or the emotional attributes or things that were in there, not to mention ethnicity and culture and other things. So that's more to the point, is that we would have things that would reflect probably in the subject areas or in the descriptions where they could search for a specific word of what they're looking for.
And I found most of my data in Andrew's subject headings.
He
These
does
are
pretty
found
well.
most
And I saw Kayla's interest spark when you said that. I saw mine, a little spark go off.
Well, also, could you imagine going through every book and inputting that data into there? That would be fun.
Yeah, you'd have to, because then we'd have to go through which books are fall in that 30% diverse collection, and then somehow, and I don't think we could do that on a broad spectrum ad. That would be difficult. So that's another project for another day, Scott. Sounds like a volunteer project to me.
And I'm a database administrator, right? This extract, transform, load is kind of what we do.
That's true.
As a volunteer.
Does anybody else have questions for Kayla or things they'd want to know about? Otherwise, we'll let her escape.
Just thank you.
Thank you for letting me talk.
See you later, Kayla. Or you can hang out with us, or you can run away. All right. So I have two screens going here, so I have to turn my head to look at the agenda and the reports. So budget is next on the report. And as per usual, we kind of front end heavy with purchasing some of the databases that come due at this time of year, the magazines that are renewal for that subscriptions. Our ebooks are completely, that money is already all encumbered. So you see that some of those numbers are high on this end, but they'll, as always, level off as we go. We hope. We hope they level off. It's definitely an interesting time to be purchasing, and how the budget is applied just even though we've been doing it forever and it really shouldn't seem different, it feels different in many ways when we look at the numbers, and I think, oh, how are we going to make it through the year? Because our spending is different, particularly in the areas of programming and supplies, and the things we're purchasing are completely different realm. We also have a lot of COVID purchases that Tracy will be submitting, or Tracy Mulcahy will be submitting for reimbursement from the state. So that we'll see some of those funds coming back too. So our personnel expenditures are actually down a little bit, 14.55% for this right now, which is a little about 2% under where we are average this time of year. And then our, as mentioned, the services and commodities is quite a bit up, not double, but not far from it. And then the total is just about 1% over where we would be right now, normally at this time of year. The reasoning for that, I'll explain a little bit more, especially with the expenditures in the staffing area here when we get to my report. But do you guys have any questions about the budget? Or anything you've seen? Okay. And my lines are looking really weird here. I don't know why, but it has these weird parentheses that I didn't know I did. So I did point out that there were 2 payrolls in July and June, and then at the beginning of September, we don't have a payroll at all, so things look odd. And there's no Friends report because the Friends haven't been meeting. So if you don't have any questions, I can just move on to my director's report. All right. So we did hire a new person. Her name is Danielle Grandinetti. She has been awesome. It's a difficult assimilation for her to come in during a time when we're completely closed and do completely different services from what we would normally be offering. She's done a great job. I've been able to eavesdrop when she's been on the phone with patrons who've called in and working out in the front desk, and she does a great job. She's a recent graduate, MLS graduate, so she has some experience from Cornell. So she's fitting in very well, and I think feeling pretty good. I check in with her every couple of days to see how she is. And then Janet, this is part of the reason why you'll see some difference in our budget for staffing. Janet has shifted roles from doing full technology services to what we're calling technology services assistant librarian for a couple different reasons. One is because the technology in the library has changed so fast and so much. The type of work that she was doing before looks completely different from what we need now for technology with the network and things. And we've relied more heavily on our consultant to do some of that networking work and things with good right. And if she doesn't do it every day, which she doesn't need to, you can't keep up on that stuff without, short of going back to get a new full degree in some kind of computer networking or engineering, she would have a hard time, like network engineering. So it feels really good. I think she feels good about it. We feel good about it. What she'll do in that position is more building supervisory role, but also forward facing patron tech services. So more supporting patron needs for technology and being more that touch point for patrons. She's really excited about it. I think as I've checked in with her, I think she felt a little bit of disconnect from things before with her role in technology and sort of in her office. And now she's just out there. She is out with the public a lot more of the time. Well, what that looks like right now is answering phone calls and greeting people at the door for our very small amount of limited people coming in and out. So that's shifted how our monies are expended right now and staffing. And then the other thing is which I don't have on here even yet, because when at the time of the writing, this wasn't confirmed. We have another position open for a library assistant. One of our library assistants, Lisa Collier, was given more hours at her other job and asked to be shifted to a sub status. So she's still on the payroll, but not working right now. We haven't had the need for her to be on the schedule. So we've saved a little bit of money there. So that's why you're seeing a little less expenditure in those lines right now. And then just not in having Danielle or Laura's position open, Laura Wagner, who has moved to Oregon. and just got a job in Oregon at a library. So that's very exciting for her. We miss her a lot. She is doing some marketing for us, which I think I mentioned down below. So I can get to that in a minute. But she's, or maybe Melanie mentioned it. She has been doing marketing for us remotely and being paid as a contract person from the Friends of the Library for the till at least till the end of the year is where we have that going on right now. I lost my place in my thing here. Just a second. Okay, so I did have Lisa in there. So that position is being, I don't know how many people have applied now. We had about a dozen a week or so ago when we first opened it. I am working from home right now, as Jen might have told you last month. I will be going, I had been at work, and then my husband came home from the hospital last week. So I am at home again. So that's awesome news. Hopefully by the end of this week, he will be in a place where I can go back to working at the library again. We've got a few appointments coming up, so, but those are good things. It's all good right now. And then the other thing is just kind of my update on the reopening and the interim service plan. We purchased some lockers for the library to have. We're going to put them on the outside of the building, bolted to the building to be used. There's, I think, 10 lockers full total, little small, like what you would see in a restroom or like a changing room, rec room or sports team room. They are for after hours curbside pickup. But they have mechanical locks that we can just change the code to every time. So the code will be unique to each patron, and we'll put the code in each day. And then when the patron comes and gets them, it resets. They're pretty cool. I was playing around with the lock. I'm still learning how to use them, but they seem to work really well. And we haven't got them up yet because we're relying on our maintenance folks to get those going, and they've been busy with pool stuff. So hopefully soon those will be up and outside. I had hoped we could get some plastic type material, the strong ones, but they didn't have those where we could put the locks in. So we had to get metal ones. So we need to spray them thoroughly with Rust-Oleum. They will be under cover just right by the entrance, but it's still going to be a little bit out in the weather. So we're going to be doing some work to keep them from getting rusted. We recently also just updated, actually last week they updated our wireless access points. We have a really strong signal now. We had moved one of our access points to put it right by the west door so that people could park outside. It was working out there, but it still, you had to be pretty close to the building. Janet walked around with a movie playing to see how it would do out there. And now it's all the way to almost both ends of the library, just the last few spaces on each north and south end of our parking doesn't have strong signal, but the rest of the area has pretty strong signal out there. So we purchased a 6th access point so that we could keep that there so that we'd have 24/7 access outside the library as well as in. It's faster and better devices. So we're pretty excited about it. The next thing I was going to talk to you about was the neighborhood nests. I don't know how many of you are aware of the nests program. It's a partnership with the Better Together Iowa City group and the education folks in the area. And what it is with the Iowa City Area Business Partnership, which is the Better Together group. We have met several times. I have been just in on the last meeting, and I sat in on at the very beginning. I had Aaron sitting in on those meetings, and then I sat in on the last one just to kind of catch up with things. They are trying to create what they're calling nests, which is an area for some of the kiddos that may not have the support at home or don't have good connectivity or have language barriers to have some help with accessing that online learning. Which is a dual challenge then because we're in COVID, and how do we make that all mesh together? So we are hoping to be able to open the doors. We're still close. So we've partnered with Big Brothers Big Sisters. Probably within the next couple of weeks on Wednesday afternoons, we will have a group of 10 kids and 10 mentors in the building to do schoolwork. These are kids that need emotional support, need some help with their homework, those types of things. with some trained mentors who will be able to help guide them. We walked the building, figured out where we can kind of spread them out throughout the building. Everybody will be masked up, and hopefully just have an opportunity to have some extra support in learning. It seems like a really good fit for us to do that, despite not being open and not having very many people in the building. So on those Wednesdays, we just won't make any appointments after 3:30 on those days. Kayla will be working with those folks when they come in and staying until 6:30 when they're done at the end of that time. And then we're just also continuing how else we might support another nest. That's just 1 day a week. So if we can do another 1 or 2 of those, we will. Our biggest challenge is having a space that will accommodate them safely. Because some of the groups, they want 10 or 12 kids with a couple adults, and we just don't feel that our meeting rooms are big enough to accommodate that safely right now. We're looking at the rec center, talking to the rec center. So there's several options that we're looking at, hoping to help them as much as possible. And then Erin and Kayla will also be getting some training on the online different apps they're using and software they're using, so that they can kind of support the parents distantly or remotely with some of that, with some of the things, because we've heard several challenges. The families with the English as their second language are struggling. There's people that are having struggles with connectivity, and then there's people who just have technology struggles in general and haven't even turned their computer on because they don't know what they're doing. So there's a lot of challenges that the schools are facing, that the kids are facing. I don't envy anyone in this situation, people with kiddos. So we're just continuing to try to figure out how that looks for us. We are hosting satellite voting. That's a bigger one. We feel that that's a really important thing for us to be a part of. That day, we won't offer any outside other library services, just the voting. We're trying to work to make that as safe as possible with social distancing, masks, all those good things. We have been told that all the satellite voting stations will require masks, which we do anyway, but the Johnson County is also requiring them for the satellite voting. So we have a couple staff who feel comfortable to do that. So we'll be offering that service on those 2 days. The derecho fortunately did not hit the library, as you guys know from last month, but Jen was able to offer, I was out still then, but Jen was able to offer an access point for people to charge their phones. We have a charger inside that they brought outside onto the patio. And then having that wireless out there at that time was vital. We had a lot of people. Toward the end, we realized, gosh, why aren't we opening up some of our study rooms to some of the folks who work from home who might not have internet yet? So they did do that. They had a few people take them up on that. But that was kind of toward the end before they did that one. So we're just doing what we could. It's certainly an interesting time. And then just professional activity. I had initially been planning to present a panel at ARSL with 3 of my cohorts across the country. We backed off on that, both because of my personal situation with my husband and also because the things we were presenting on were things that they were going to be ideally offering in their buildings in April and May. And then they did not for them. So we are holding off on that one. But then I was asked last week to present for the American Library Association on a community support in libraries during COVID. So I'm going to be working on that with a couple of other panelists who we have not met yet, but hopefully soon we will be meeting to talk about how we're going to present. It's mainly about friends and foundations and how they help the library. While our friends hasn't met, they have been super supportive advocates despite that and been in touch with us. So I think we can speak on that pretty well. And then the last part is our staff, our lovely staff reports. Did you guys have any questions on any of those reports that are out there? How are you guys feeling about the new, I just kind of changed it so all the staff reports are meshed into my report at the end rather than a big long line of reports. Does that work for you guys? Good. I think it works better. Different staff report them in different ways. I say 2 or 3 bulleted points are fine, and this is what we get. So they all have a different idea of what that looks like, and that's okay. They're all different. Andrew gives lots and lots of cool statistics, and this time he had a lot more because of we worked on the annual report, which isn't due. This is the fastest we've ever gotten it done. It's not due till the end of October, but we are. So he had a lot of cool information to share. So I put that extra file in there for you guys just to look at your leisure for fun. So that is really all that I have, unless anybody has any questions. No. It's a different way for us to deliver services, and it feels, I've talked to other librarians, it feels like we're busier than ever, the demand, and I think that's not just libraries, I think that's just every industry feels this way. Despite being closed to the public, our demand and our workflow and workload is just huge. I'm sure many of you can relate. So it's definitely weird. I start my report every month thinking, gosh, what am I going to tell them that's different from last month? And then it just kind of comes out. So. All right. Next thing is policy review. So the policy is the collection development, and then the reconsideration of materials form, which are both included in the thing. The main policy changes, it looks really crazy when you look at this, but I wanted to give you guys an example. Kelly has reformatted all of our policies for us to make them all very much the same, getting the NLL instead of NLCL, because we've kind of adopted that despite it not being a actual thing. We just kind of adopted it as our own. So that just shows all the formatting in there. And then the only real change here is on the last page. There's just, I meshed some of the Iowa City's wording into our policy. I really liked how they had theirs worded just about the donation books and how we're going to use them. We ask that people not give us donations of materials with a stipulation. And so that just kind of goes through that, and just saying that we will consider the interests of donors if they have some, interest in hearing us. We've had donors say, I'll give you these books, but if you ever don't want them, I want them back. Well, those types of things are just really hard to do with attrition and change in staffing. And things like that, it's hard to track that type of thing. So short of writing something in each book and checking each book when we discard them, so that kind of just addresses those types of things. Other than that, that's the only real change in the policy. Does anybody have questions, or does it look okay? Things that you'd think we should change? I didn't get any edits from anybody on the board, so I'm assuming you found it okay.
I think the changes all made sense as far as the ones that Kelly did, and the adding the Iowa City language was, I think, a good change. I would make a motion to update the policy with those changes.
I second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great.
Right.
I gotta scroll back up here now. Oops, sorry. Okay, the next thing, if everyone saw it and you were thinking hard on this one, is one that Jesse can address, which is President, Vice President, Secretary for this next year. And I'm just going to sit back now.
All right, so I think we normally start with President. I don't know if anyone wants to throw their hat into the ring. Oh, come on, guys. It's fun.
Hard.
I'm willing if nobody else is volunteering. But if anybody else
volunteers,
does,
that means someone's going to have to be secretary.
what's that?
But if you volunteer, that means someone else has to take secretary on, right?
Yeah, but when I get you the minutes the night before they're due for the city council meeting, might be better to have somebody. But if anybody else is interested, please step forward.
All right. Well,
Heidi wins. No,
Heidi does it. I think we have to have an official vote. All in favor?
you want to just do the whole slate, or can you do that?
Oh, sure. Okay, so Heidi for president, for vice president, which just means stepping in if Heidi cannot make a meeting.
If no one else, I'll do that again.
Great, thanks, Laura. All right, and then secretary.
Who's
Scott,
gonna do it?
Mike.
Yeah, Scott, I'll do it. Whatever.
Great.
Got it.
Enthusiastically do it.
Thank you. I love enthusiasm. Heidi for president, Laura for vice president, Scott for secretary for the next year. So until next August would be the norm. All in favor?
I
Aye.
Aye.
Did you have a motion and a second?
I don't know. Did I? Probably not.
No.
Let's try that again. See, this is why we need a new president. I'm forgetting everything.
I make a motion to accept the slate of candidates.
Thank you, Mike. I will second, since I'm the only other person who's not up for candidacy. Okay, take two on voting. All in favor?
I
Aye.
Okay, great. Chris will be excited she didn't get nominated in absence.
Oh yeah, that's usually the way it goes. All right. I think that is, unless anyone has any new business,
Nope.
just that one last motion then.
All right, who wants to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion to adjourn the meeting.
Do
I'll
we have a
second.
second?
Awesome. Everyone want to leave?
All in favor? Yay.
Awesome.
Aye.
I
Have a great night, everybody.
Yes, take care,
Night.
everyone.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.